Welcome to today's episode of Blending Fab, a podcast all about relationships where we explore expectations and lessons learned along the way. To keep up to date with what's coming up, be sure to follow us on Instagram at blending_fab. Let's get straight into it.
So when it comes to relationships, who were your role models growing up? Who are your role models today?
That is a great question. So I growing up, I come from a single parent home. So I didn't have that direct role model, as for example. But one thing about my mom, she kept me around people, the things that she couldn't give me, she put me around people that could provide that. So, um, yeah, of course, we had our TV shows like
Mm-hmm.
uh, parent dad dad parents and stuff that's on the sitcoms like Family Matters, Bill Cosby, and the list goes on and on. But I would say like grandparents, family members,
Mm-hmm.
and church members because that's where I spent a lot of my time. So
Got it, got it. Uh, what were your views on relationships? Like with what you had, did you have a good perspective on relationships? Like somebody being married, someone being single, divorce, and things of that sort. What were your perspectives on those?
I had mixed perspectives because I seen a little bit of everything. So I
Okay.
seen the singleness, I seen the divorce, the good, bad, and ugly of it.
Mm-hmm.
The long term marriages, the short term marriages. So it helped me to take little bits and pieces of it, like, I would like that, but I wouldn't like that, or
Mm-hmm.
that wouldn't work for me, or how do you do that, or why do you do that? Like, so,
Yes, yes. And
so
that's always the thing for sure. Like, how you were raised. Like, my mom did it this way. I'm going to do it this way. But something she did, I'm not going to do it that way.
yeah,
And it bites you in the butt. For one, like, we got McDonald's at home. I need to start telling myself I got McDonald's at home.
absolutely.
But that's how we learn. So that's pretty cool. So let's go back to singleness. I know it's a little while ago for you. But how was your experience being single? Did you feel like you would be single forever? Or did you aspire to be married?
It's an interesting one. So my singleness was very, very like interesting. So I always found myself in relationships. Sometimes didn't know how we got into a relationship. Before
Mm.
you know it, oh, but you're my girlfriend. So when did that happen? Like, so, but singleness was tough, especially dealing with dad issues.
Mhm.
Um,
Mm.
I, it was once upon a time I did desire to be married, but as I got older and had a couple heartbreaks, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm content being by myself.
Yes.
Which was not the truth. um, in singleness, it was again to the dad issue. So, there was once upon a time in my singleness where I thought, if my father didn't want to stay with me, how can I expect a guy to stay with me?
Mm.
And after building my relationship with God during my singleness, because there's different parts of your relationship, especially when you're dating and stuff. But when God gets you alone and isolates you, that's a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
um, and just having that time. So I think my singleness was a blessing because I got to know myself again after being in a toxic relationship, and not only getting to know myself again, it's just knowing myself as a child of God, as a daughter of God, and knowing that the lies that I did believe, that somebody would not stay, was like all lies. It wasn't no truth in it.
Mm-hmm.
And going into actually getting married, which was like definitely unexpected. I was very like, oh, I'm fine getting married. I'm being single.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was just living my best life, me and Jesus. Like,
I love this. And the realness because um, we've had some interviews where we talk to a single man, um, and your father not being there can
mm,
really weigh really big on your sight of a man because like who's your role model to let you know how the guy should treat you and things of sort. Moms do a phenomenal job, hands off,
yes,
right? But there's some traits that the man can teach that the woman can't teach.
mm,
And if he didn't want to be a part of my life, how's this guy gonna be a part of my life? And
right,
You're
And not to discredit any
yeah.
father figures that were in my life, because I had, my uncles, I have
Mhm.
people that actually stepped in and that helped guide me into those things. But there's nothing like having your biological father or your biological parent in that way to shape you to
Yeah.
go towards that way.
Yeah.
So it's been an interesting journey, but I really count my singleness as a blessing because it really taught me who I was and who I
Mhm.
wasn't.
Mhm.
And it gave me time to like grow without, any interruptions. So
Mhm. So grateful for the village, right? The guys
yeah.
that come in and support. Um, I can recall, guys my mom did. I was grateful that they came around. One, to see a guy that cared for a woman, what
Mhm.
that looked like, healthy disagreements. I'm sure they had some unhealthy, possibly. I don't know. They kept that away. But the realness and normalizing that you don't always get along, but if you like the person, you do what you do to keep it going and things of that sort. Um,
Mhm.
so always grateful for the village that comes in.
Yes.
This other part you said though about how
Mhm.
wait, we go together. When did that happen? H- how is that of what's the process like in defining what relationships are? And when you did find out you were going together, how did you like, okay, so we aren't, or we okay, I guess we are. How did that go?
It was it was a very blur line because I didn't understand boundaries at the time.
Mm,
So yes, we are going on dates or whatever, but there were times like you wouldn't call or text, and I'm like, okay, I thought we were just friends, but if I didn't call or text, it's like, oh, you're supposed to be my girlfriend now. How did you go? And I'm like, well, when did we start dating? So just I think the lack of boundaries had me in unnecessary relationships, to be honest,
mm,
and learning how to build those boundaries. I'm like, hey, what is it? Knowing to call it what it is, name a thing a thing.
mm,
What are we doing? Like,
yeah,
how are we doing? And
yeah.
where are we going? Has been.
Oh, which are all tough conversations, right? Because it's almost like the we need to talk, and it was like everybody's
Hmm.
scared of that. But you do need to talk often to find out where you are, how's it coming along, where do you see yourselves going from here?
And they could be awkward conversations too, because it's like
Yeah.
not knowing when the right time to say or ask, or
Hmm.
but those are conversations that really need to be had as well as your boundaries. So
Yes. Definitely awkward, especially if like, okay, they're saying we're in a relationship, and I'm like, no, we just friends. You're my brother. What
yeah.
does that look like? Or you like you just a friend, or you like whatever. And I say brother, but I use that so like because I hold brothers to be dear.
Yes.
God said comes to my house, they have really been brothers. I call them brothers. Everybody else, they name.
Yes.
And I'm black. But we were just a friend, or like a close friend, or like whatever it is, being able to clarify that sometimes can be hurtful. And on the opposite side too, where you're thinking the girl is thinking that this morning, the guy was like, nah. Because
Yes.
sometimes, people playing games on both sides of like, I'm trying to see how far this could go, what
Yes.
I could get, you
But
know.
you get out of the situation and stuff like that. So yes, it is on both ends, not just a one-sided thing. So
Mhm.
learning how to grow through that, which was very interesting because I didn't know that was like something that was needed or
Mhm.
that could happen. Like, so,
So when you met your husband, because you're married,
yeah. Thank
how
you.
did that experience go for like when you first met him? Let's walk through the relationship a little bit.
Oh,
How
going
did you
back.
meet him?
So to make a long story short, he slid into the DMs. Direct messages. No, so to be honest, so yes, he did slide into my DMs, but it was on a friendship level. We had things in common. I
Mhm.
did see him around like in a neighborhood. So I was cool with texting back and forth and
Mhm.
conversating and building a friendship from there. Typically, which was interesting because I don't even open my messages unless someone tell me, "Hey, I sent you a message. Check it out." And it's a person I know because, of course, we know how direct messages go. Like people feel like they can say and send you any old thing, so
Anything.
I don't even bother.
Right.
Um, but yeah, we started. I don't know what it may be music, and we had something in common about, and we were chatting from there, and the friendship started to develop from there. Um, and then we finally met for like a first date at a pizza shop down
Mhm.
Center City, Old City. and we still continue to develop the friendship.
Let's pause for a second.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So you knew from the area, you
Yeah.
sent the messages, you felt
So I
comfortable.
didn't know him. I just seen them around, so it was a familiar face.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
So,
So by the time we got to the date at the pizza shop, what made you feel like, okay, yes, I'm going to pursue this? Because you was like, I'm about this single life right now, but
yeah,
maybe I'll give him a try. What was it about him?
I think he's very charming. Very respectful. A lot of the things that my father figures taught me a man should be like courteous, kind, respectful. So I'm like, okay, and I truly enjoyed the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, go on dates is really nothing to talk about because they don't know how to develop the conversation, or it's very short. But we can talk for hours and hours about the simplest things. They have a lot in common,
Mm-hmm.
or even the things that we didn't have in common.
Mm-hmm.
So
Which is a big one because that communication piece, right? Oh,
yes, very important.
conversation. They be like, guys are just different. They just don't talk. I'm like, bull crap. If they want to talk, they will.
Yeah,
And when they do talk, the hope is that the person that's receiving it is open, receptive, and um, yeah, open and receptive to what it is that they're saying because that's a big thing for them to
yes,
share about their lives when they don't have to share. They could just like, yeah, my day was good and go about their business. But they're like,
mhm,
no, I had to do this, 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 this. Then this happened, and I got to do this.
yes.
I'm a little overwhelmed.
And I found out with him being judgmental free
Mhm,
was very gave him the space to open up. Um, so I was pretty excited that I could provide that because a lot of our African American men don't even get that opportunity or want to share.
mhm.
So um, it just made the friendship even stronger. Like, oh, you're cool. It was just having that genuine friendship where we can go out on dates and have fun. Hey, you want to check out a movie? And there was no expectations after that fact. We
Mhm,
can go back home and then do it all over again. So I think that is what I enjoyed the most
mhm.
while just being friends and dating.
Yes, I love that you say that because a foundation um,
Mm,
is the friendship piece.
yes.
Because like I don't know, I just love this person, but I like them because they're my friend. And sometimes I don't always like them, but I love them. Wherever you find yourself at, right? But that friendship piece, and when you go out and it's your friends, it's no expectations. You don't have to do all this hoop and high. It's not like you just being yourself.
Sweatpants, ponytail, we out.
Yeah, right, right. And it helps you to one and not put on those airs to kind of really find out who you are. Because
Hmm.
that's my other question. So you said that he was charming. And when you first meet somebody, sometimes you get to interview them.
Hmm.
The person that's showing up for the interview trying to be like, I'm trying to get in, see what happens, and things of that sort. But when you're being friends, it's not quite an interview. It's almost like they got the job of being your friend because you're going on the trust factor.
Hmm.
We're trying to see if you can maintain the job.
Yes.
Hmm.
And it's I think also the consistency of it. It wasn't like a switch up or anything. Like you're this way one day and then another, and it's okay because people do have those moments and stuff like that. But it was just the consistency of who he was, um, in the good times, bad times, uncertain times, just
Hmm.
being solid.
Very nice, very nice. So now we're in the friendship era. We're going pizza. We've chatting still in the DM. Did we get a phone number by this time after the pizza?
Yes, so we got the phone number before the pizza, and that's how we decided to go. He picked the place. I
Hmm.
still don't remember the name of the place to this day. I just know it was an old city, and we
Hmm.
kept talking about visiting it again. But then we had the pandemic and everything like that. So hopefully, with the anniversary coming up, we could probably
Yeah,
circle the block again or something, just
yeah.
for memories and nostalgia. But yeah, the friendship was he. We exchanged numbers, decided, hey, well, when you get off of work, because at the time I was working downtown, um, dealing with buses and trains and stuff like that. So I guess he picked a mutual spot where he could meet us both. And it was raining and snowing that day. So he was
Wow.
like, I thought you was going to change your mind. But I was always raised like, if you say you're going to do something, do it. And I felt like it was like last minute to change my mind, even though I had good reasons to because of the weather
Mhm,
and
mhm.
the hair situation. I'm like, listen. But I'm glad I didn't.
Oh,
Um,
And that was big too for him to say that. I thought you were gonna change your mind because it me outside looking in, some expectations were there. He was excited. One, he slid in DMs, and that's already hard because nobody likes rejection. So it's
No.
going well, and now we finally about to link up, and it's snowing, it's raining. He know what's out with is about a woman in her hair already. I'm just gonna get it to him, right? And the hesitancy of like, oh man, I hope she's still come through. I'm really excited because like this now opens the door to something else potentially.
Yeah.
So with him saying that too showed um his vulnerableness of
Mhm.
um I really wanted to go on this, and I'm so happy that you still came.
Yes.
And how was the first date? I'm
The
sorry,
first,
first
no,
date.
yeah, the first it was very fun. I wasn't disappointed. The weather, of course, was the weather, but I remember we ordered pizza and a cheesecake,
Mhm.
random combo, but I don't even remember what their conversation was about. It was just like the first initial meetup where we actually not seeing someone passing, but
Mhm.
seeing each other face to face, up close and personal. And I think what he say? I think he expected me to be who I was, and I expected him to be who he was. I thought he was a lot taller. I'm like, okay, but he's definitely taller than me, so that was a plus for me.
Yes. Something else you just said that was pretty cool of seeing
Mhm.
somebody in passing, but really seeing them face to face. Because
Mm,
we can see a lot of people in passing that have expectations, like they're taller. But then to see them face to face, you really get to find out who they are. How important is it for us to really do that face to face? Because in passing, we can like send a message and keep on going about our day. But it's not until I feel like we become intentional that something more can come from it.
yes, I think it's very important because it makes sure that it checks all the boxes and say like, hey, is this person solid or because anybody could be anybody behind line on social media or behind a computer. You
Yeah,
know, is his conversation matching up to what the conversation happens in the direct messaging, or is he reading from a script, or is this reading from a book? But I was blessed to say he was his authentic self, and everything was the same and checked out, which was
very nice.
surprising because we have the catfish and everything like that. Even though
Mhm.
you may see them in person, like in passing or whatever, but that initial face to face, active listening and eye contact engagement. Um, was very important. And don't get me wrong, there's times where you could be socially awkward, and
Yeah.
how do you handle that, or So
I love it. I love it. So this was friendship blossoming because
mhm.
no because this was friendship blossoming. So as you now have gone out, how was the process between that first outing to now saying okay we are officially dating? What was your process of saying yes I want to keep hanging out with this person or I really do like this person?
So that was very very interesting, and it almost didn't happen because we're having this great friendship, and then next thing you know, he disappeared, just
Oh,
ghost. So I'm like, what did I do to him? Like, so I'm talking to, at the time, living with my cousin, and she called him the poem guy because each date he would write me a poem and give me a fake flower. He's like, I know your name means a flower, but I know you can't keep them alive for long, so it was a
oh,
fake rose.
wait a minute. A poem and a flower. And the
Yeah,
fact that it was a fake flower because he knew you couldn't keep them real. We got to work on your green thumb, sis.
yes,
Um,
he went to that.
but how he wanted it to be able to be alive for you and even the sense of plastic. This man was paying attention, but then he went ghost. Tell me more. Tell me more.
Yeah, so that was like that rejection thing coming up again, going back to the
Um,
father. I'm like, oh no, like at the point I'm the one who does the rejection, like because I was on a little dating spree, and I'm like, yep, the one thing they did wrong, I'm like, nope, block. Like
yes.
I wasn't giving nobody a chance, and then to actually give somebody a chance and they disappear, was like, wait a minute, like I didn't even do nothing to this person, like so I was in my feelings about it. I think in a couple months later, he came back around. Um, my cousin was like, "Well, give him a chance." He reached out, and I'm like, "What do you want?" Like, I mean, mean. My guard was up.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go to war.
Yes.
Like, what did I do to you? Like, well, now you want to reach out? Like, what's up? So he said, hey, I got an apartment and I wanted you to put your touches on it as far as like, what should go here, the furniture and everything like that. Can you come check it out? And he did apologize before even all that happened.
Mhm.
Sorry for my disappearance, but I could explain better in person and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
I was not trying to hear it. Shout out to my cousin Cookie because she was rooting for this guy so bad. We were doing some spring cleaning and she was like, "What are you gonna do with these palms and flowers?" Because they were all together in one little corner in the area. And if I would have realized that it was over there, it probably would have been in the trash. So I'm like, just throw it in the trash. She was like, no, give him a try. I like the poem guy at the time. As like cousins and friends, we have nicknames for people and stuff. So
Mhm. Mhm.
I like the poem guy. So I showed her the message, and I'm like, no, I'm not feeling that because I didn't do nothing to him. She was like, well, at least give him a chance to explain because you guys had a good friendship. So he did apologize and he explained. So it was part of his plan of going beyond friendship.
Mhm.
So he wanted to come. He said, I'm sorry for disappearing. He had family issues that he wanted to resolve. He's not the oldest, but he has an older brother who is nonverbal autistic, and he does like a lot of hands on with that, and
Mhm.
um, that was taking away his time. But he said, I wanted to come to you. I wanted to come correct. I knew if I had come to you, I had to come correct. So, um, we both were out of bad relationships, and he was back with his mom. So at this time, he just got the apartment and starting a new, fresh life, and wanted to invite me back in. And that was his way of coming correctly, and being able to show that, hey, yes, I got your back, and I can provide it if needed. So,
Oh, poem. I like poem boy. I like the poem boy. I like him too.
oh God.
Two things.
Mhm.
How your cousin rooted for this.
Very hard.
There are some times that we could get linked up in some situationships
Hmm.
and the person is no good.
Mm.
Um, or we feel like there's some good and our voice of reason, that cousin, that person, that trusted friend, is like, nah, sis, leave that alone. Don't do that. But when they could see the good potential too, because had you really threw those flowers away, had you really not given this guy opportunity,
Hmm.
where would we be possibly today?
Yes, and that's a common question that lingers from time to time. I'm like, oh, will I be this happy if I was to date this person before with the other way?
Mm.
And the answer to it, I don't think I would have been. I just love how God orchestrates and ordains things,
Yes.
um, even when we don't see it. Because a lot of times we get into situations and relationships we can't see things until we come out of it.
Mm.
So while we're going through it and everybody's like, no, that's not the right person for you, you deserve better. But no, I really love this person and they
Yes.
could do this. But when you come out of it and I think that was the hardest part when we go back to singleness, was forgiving myself for allowing certain things to happen and the way
Mm.
they happen. I think that was the most difficult part of being single, because that was a long purging process,
Mhm.
for the none to say the least. I wasn't so mad at the offender, but I was just mad at allowing myself to be offended in that way, in that type of way. Got the diplomas and degrees, and I let that slide,
Mhm.
So it was really being hard on myself, but again, building that relationship with God and saying, give yourself grace, give yourself forgiveness, give others people grace and forgiveness as I
Mhm.
do for you.
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, it was a little bit.
I like how you say that. Okay, I'm gonna
Yeah,
try.
it was not like you already know God. It's not it's not giving what it's supposed to give at the moment, but it's all about being that work in progress. Yes. Yes.
The other part of having that person, that cousin, whatever
Mm-hmm.
friend you find to be that person for you, those that listen, um, knowing how much to share,
Mm-hmm.
how much not to share,
Yes.
knowing what to receive from their feedback,
Mm-hmm.
knowing what not to receive from that feedback, right? So obviously,
Absolutely.
this cousin was really somebody that was strong and a dependable person in your life. But sometimes we get connected with somebody and they don't got no boo, so then they like hating on you.
Yes.
Um, so how did you? Because though this cousin is one that was room for him, did anybody else know about him? What were their thoughts on him? Or did you really just kind of hone in on the voice of the cousin and leave others alone?
I really honed on to the voice of the cousin because at the time it was just like dating, and I'm like, I ain't got time for nobody. I'm all about stacking my little money and doing bills and goals. Like that was my little focus. I'll entertain someone, but it wasn't. It with him, it was totally different. Um, and so her voice of reason, and we trust. You should always have somebody that could tell you about yourself and you could tell them about themselves, but still remain that solid friendship and relationship, while keeping that respect. So with me and her, like, yeah, girl, you know you was wrong for that, right? Like, so same in the same way too. Like, okay, Jazz, you were way out of line with that one. Maybe you should
Yeah,
apologize and stuff
yeah,
like that. So it's very important just to have at least one person that you can do that with. Um and that's what helped the process to move a little bit further. And she was just really adamant about this one. Like, I really like him. Outside of, I don't like this one and I don't like that one because of this, that, and the third. She had her reasonings, but she's like, think about it. If you want somebody to give you a chance or to explain yourself, you never know what happened. At this
mm.
point, I'm like, look, I don't even care what happened. Like, it's all about me.
That's
Oh,
Jazz.
yes, it was bad. I'm like, oh, thank God for growth, though.
Yes, yes. But that's also the realness of like if you've been in a bad situation before, you've been heartbroken before, or however it ended didn't even start and you thought it was. Um, when you like vibe with somebody, it was like, okay, this is really good. This is a good situation. Maybe there is hope. And then to disappear for a couple of months, like without a word,
Outerwears.
it'd be
He did
hard.
it. He right, and he did apologize for it, and he, like, I could have probably did it a little differently, but I knew if I wanted to, go anywhere further with you, there's certain things I had to have and do and be, and I wasn't that yet, and I wanted to be that. So I'm like, I don't know how I was mad and intrigued at the same time. It was a curveball because I was ready to go to war. Coming to visit. Like, yeah, I find it funny how like you just
Yes, yes.
like,
Now
well, I thought we
you're
were
intrigued.
friends.
Like, what? It's like, shut your mouth and keep on talking.
It definitely threw off of my little attack because I was on go, but I had to really think about it and really reflect too. Because, like, had he not done that, like, would I ever have given him a chance? And even then, after the situation, we had to build up our trust, and I had to let that guard down, and that piece of rejection, I had to let that die down. There were a few times, like, going past that, I think he kept asking, "Hey, can we take this a little bit further?" I'm like, "No, you're my friend." Like, I didn't friend zone them so bad. I don't even think I would have asked myself to marry myself. But it was again that consistency, and he knew what he wanted.
Mhm, mhm,
And I think that's what helped made it. That was part of the reason that helped made it progress further.
mhm,
Um, Again, is that piece of knowing myself and rebuilding my relationship with God during that time. Um, I always had a relationship with God for as long as I can remember, but we grow and we go through different things and get through different ages, and our relationship changes or they shift. Whether it's for the good or the bad. And I'm like getting stronger in God, and I'm like, well, God, I just as we go into the aspect of dating, I'm like, listen, I just want somebody to see me for me. Um, Going forward, and there was like a list of things, and there's prayers that only you and God know about, and
mhm,
there's your corporate prayers, and you pray with anyone else, but certain closet prayers you and God only knows about it. And
right,
one of them was like, well, God, I just want someone to see me for me, not
mhm,
what they can get from me or what I can do for them, or you know um I'll give so I couldn't give no more. So that could be exhausting too. But then again, not knowing those boundaries and how to set them, um, And my husband now, he wasn't the typical guy that I was going for as far as dating. He wasn't the norm. I was used to like tall, like real tall guy, stocky, and he's not that much taller than me, a little slim, and I'm like, this is different. Like, so during my prayer, I'm like, God, I wanted somebody to see me for me, and by then he didn't ask me about like two or three, no, two times. Because the third time is when I was like, okay, we can go further. Because by the third time, he asked, and I'm like, but no, like I really enjoy your friendship. I don't want to mess that up. We have a good thing going here. Um, and he was like, okay, well, I respect that, but I just want you to know, whether we decide to stay friends or go further, I see you. Girl, I just bawled out crying.
Mm,
He's like, did I say something wrong? Did I do something wrong? But that was one of the prayers that I had, between me and God, and that was the confirmation. He's like, I see you. Um, and the Holy Spirit had to get to me because he's like, listen, you praying for these things, and I'm giving it to you, but you're complaining about the package is in. And I was
mm,
like, ouch. So then after that revelation and I call it a spiritual beating, I was able to see him beyond the friendship and realizing, okay, this is what I wanted in a relationship. This is what I wanted in a man.
mm.
So yeah.
So many great things that were just shared. One, uh, the I see you.
Yes. I still kind of cry about that sometimes because I'm like, it's one of them prayers that you just like, okay, I'm gonna say it, but I don't know if it's gonna come to pass. Not having that faith in it. But I'm like, he was nowhere around when I was praying this, and just to randomly say that, well, not even randomly say it,
Right.
but just to confirm that, and I'm like, okay, that guard and everything just dropped, and I'm like at a vulnerable place which I didn't like to be, and I'm just like bawling, and he's like, "Did I do something wrong? Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm fine, thank you."
Oh my goodness. So yes, so the friendship piece of
Mhm,
friend zoning him, but his consistency and staying around let you know for sure that he wanted to be around.
mhm.
So unconsciously it's possible with a test of like, let me see if he gonna leave you this time, things
Yeah.
like not intentionally to test them, but really like, one, I don't want to mess this up. I really do appreciate you being a friend. And sometimes people think that's fluff and things of that sort, but sometimes you really do get a good friend, and you've experienced where you did try to make it something different and it did not
It goes left.
work. And how much you value that friendship, which is again that great part of that being the foundation of, because I value it so much, what can I do to help you as you do things to help me for us to still stay together so we don't mess this thing up? Because what we have is too valuable. Amazing. Your prayer of God, let him see me for me,
Mm,
that's a serious thing because, insecurities are real, right?
it's
So whatever
very
doubts and things you
good.
have about yourself and you're battling them on your own, is like, are they gonna like me for this? Oh,
Mm,
I'm doing this. Are they gonna be okay with that? Or am I doing too much in their eyesight? Or they're gonna be like, oh, I'm intimidated. I can't, things of that sort. But if you see me for me, you see everything I'm doing and you are excited for it. You are now my new cheerleader as I cheerlead you and seeing you for you. It's just,
mm.
oh my goodness.
Learning how to be enough, like knowing that you are enough. That was a hard thing for me. I'm like, okay, well, do I gotta? I always went the extra mile, and then you get hurt because it wasn't in return. The
Mhm.
extra, the false expectations,
Yes.
unrealistic expectations, to be honest.
Yes.
Um, so after going through all that and the hurt, whether it was caused on my own or from others, it's just like you just get tired. I'm like, listen, I'm tired. Like, I just want somebody to see me for me. Like, let me be enough was really the prayer. Like that I had.
I love it. But let me go back to the ghosting time, right? Because I see both sides. I see you
Mhm.
being upset because he disappeared. I get it. I get it. You know, um, but the dopeness of him saying when he came back, I wanted to be ready for you.
Mhm.
There are times that we could tell somebody, I feel like I'm not ready for you. And what happens is we're like, oh, but you already da 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 da.
Come
And
along.
it's a possibility that if he told you, you would have made it seem like he was, but he knew within himself that he wasn't. And there's
Mm,
sometimes that we can't tell somebody else. We just got to go into the secret closet and grind until
mm,
we get to where it is that we're trying to be,
yeah.
and then come back, you know? Because
Mm-hmm.
like at first it could have been like all games, not games, in the wrong word. It could have been just like seeing where it go, but then it's like, no, this the real deal. Let me
Mm,
get my act together. So like he got himself together and he came back like, I'm sorry, I just want to have bam, 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 bam together.
mm-hmm.
And again, that piece of being vulnerable to tell you all those different things that was going on for him, how he was trying to be present. Like I knew that I didn't want to be with my mom. I wouldn't have my spot again. Now I ain't gonna say that was smooth though. I want you to come on with your touch on it. That was smooth, brother.
Homemade dinner and everything. Flowers. I'm like, it was a whole setup. I said, okay.
Oh, he cooked?
Yeah,
Okay.
a home meal.
No.
Let's see if I remember. I believe it was rice and chicken and some type of vegetable.
Yeah.
Um, and this little table because the apartment, it was like a studio apartment, but it was his.
Yes. It was
Just
his.
enough for him. So it was really nice and intimate, and that was just like the type of person he was.
Mhm.
Of course, I had my flower waiting there. So it was hard to keep that mean demeanor and have my guard up when I'm walking into something like this. But
Yes.
I still wanted to know. A part of me, the other part of me going to take his offer was I needed to understand why, because like you were really a good friend and I was a good friend to you. Where did we go wrong? Like did I say
Yes.
something? Did I do something? Did something? And then that going back to that insecurity of being enough, like was I not enough? Like it was I not a
Mhm.
good enough
Mhm.
friend for you, or
Mhm.
what happened? So being and then also being receptive to hear what happened.
Yeah.
'Cause you can listen to respond and or you could listen to understand. So I
Yes.
was glad that the Lord allowed me to listen to understand and have that part of empathy, because you always go in the mindset treat people how you want to be treated. So
Yes. Yes.
she was on the other foot. What I want you to understand, yes. So,
I
no,
promise his new name is Poems, okay? Poems.
people.
I also like this flowers. I ain't gonna hold you because I feel like I'm here to tell Lord, let him see me for me. What else was it? And then he bring me fake flowers because then I want to make a whole bouquet of. Do you still have your flowers?
So yeah, so during the wedding, we got married in the middle of the pandemic or towards the end of it. I would say
Mhm.
the middle of it. And I used those flowers. I made my own bouquets, and I didn't see me spending a whole bunch of money on flowers and stuff like that. And there weren't a lot of places you could get it from because everything was shut down,
Right, right.
or they were like sky high because of the process of getting it.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
my bridesmaids and bridal party, I grabbed a few flowers from the Dollar Tree, put them together into a bouquet, and then with my bouquet, I used all the flowers that he gave me throughout the dates, and they were like in the middle of the bouquet to
I love it.
have a part of it. So it
Did
worked.
he know that you'll use those flowers in a bouquet?
Yeah, he found out after. He was like, "Whoa!" He was like, "Those some nice flowers," and then he was like, "Oh, you used the flowers." I was like, "Yeah."
Yes,
So
yes.
it was, and that's another thing. He noticed the little things, and somebody to have someone that really study you, and then like it was different for me. Like I dated guys who could care less. It was all about them, and
Mhm.
what can you do for me? But to really take in and listen to what I'm saying, or and follow through with it, and being a person of their word, that was big for me too.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so we went on a date.
Hmm.
Things were going well. Ghosting time, grinding time is what I'm gonna call it. We're
Yeah,
going perspective. We was grinding, okay?
it was really
Um,
fun.
and then it helps you to kind of like also figure out and inventory yourself of like, well, what did I do? What did I do? What
Hmm.
all those things, right? So now we've come back together, and it's pandemic time. You're saying, how
Hmm.
was it dating during the pandemic times? What helped you guys to stay close and to keep your connection without getting COVID?
Yes. Well, one was that he didn't live far. Yeah, not far at all. So literally probably like a couple blocks. So
Okay.
that we still kept going out, on dates and stuff. That communication piece, checking in, having intentional dates. I think my uncle, he calls him the picnic guy because we went out on a picnic. I think it was about the art museum or something like that. Because
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoy the simple things. I'm not too much of the glitz and glamour, or you got to take me, Steak 48 or something like that.
Yeah.
So we would watch cartoons and eat cereal. I'm fine. Like it's the company, the company and the attentions of the date. So, uh,
Mm-hmm.
we kept things, kept doing little things together. So I think that's what kept us throughout the pandemic, and that communication, that line of communication. It wasn't every day we could see each other. At the time, I was working at a nursing home, and that was really rough for me because losing people left and right, and all you can hear is like cold blues and stuff like that. I didn't know how to navigate that either. So, um, sometimes he would get misdirected anger towards him, but it wasn't towards him. And I appreciate how he handled that because I know she was on the other foot. I would have left you alone, like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Um, but he really helped me talk it out, like, hey, you got to separate, work from home, and I know you don't mean it, but this is how it made me feel. But
Mm-hmm.
I forgive you. It's okay. Like I'm like, what? Where you come from? Because like the guys I've dated we don't communicate like this. It's either we stop texting, we stop talking,
Mm-hmm.
throwing shots at each other on social media. Yeah, so we
I
kept
love
it.
it. I love it. Ah, oh my goodness, he paid attention to the little things. He saw you, these flowers. Let's get to the proposal. How did that happen? How did it go down?
So that was pretty interesting too. The proposal happened on Christmas. So then we got married 2020. So Christmas of 2019. Um, we were dating. We made it official dating in that June of 2019, and then the proposal happened Christmas Day.
Oh, he didn't
And
waste
his
no time.
yes,
I finally got out the friend zone. Let me lock her down because she's trying to play these
move
games.
quickly. um, yeah, the timeline of it was really really funny. Yeah, June we were dating and going on picnics and stuff like that, walks in the park, you know, the simple things. And then Christmas Day, I came over that morning to exchange gifts, and I kind of thought I knew all my gifts. And then he proposed in his little living room at the time. So that was always funny. And I'm like, I thought he was playing. I don't know why. I don't know if it was like a defense mechanism, like, are we playing? Are you serious? But then when he pulled out the ring, and I'm like, oh no, you're serious. Again, I was all about having comfort zone. So I had my Tweety Bird pajamas that came over, and so here I am getting engaged in a Tweety Bird pajama set and slippers.
I love it.
And then we made our rounds to the family that day. My mom, she was like, "Well, are you playing?" Because I do play a lot, so I'm known as the jokester and the dad jokes and stuff like that. So they're like, "Yeah, okay." And I'm like, "No, I'm serious this time." So then after initial shock, they was like, "Congratulations!" So we went to go visit my family first, and we went to go visit his side of the family. So it was like, I think that's why Christmas is one of my favorites now, besides my birthday holiday. So
I love it.
that forever changed how I view Christmas because being from a single parent home, Christmas could be rough.
Mhm.
You make it do what it do, but it's not always what you kind of wanted. You probably want more, but I think he changed the perspective of Christmas for me because I knew all the gifts he done got and ordered off of Amazon or anywhere else, but then that was like a shock. And I think he said he wanted to wait till my birthday, but he couldn't. He said it was burning a hole in his pocket. He just
Yes.
didn't know how to go about it.
Mhm.
So it was initially supposed to happen in February, but he pulled it out December.
Yes.
That's funny.
I love it. I love it. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. So, in relationships, right, you go from friends to dating to
Hmm.
engaged to then married. And I always share that when you're just friends, there's one level of expectation, right?
Yes.
So when you're dating, the expectation heightens a little bit. I want to check in a little
Mhm.
bit more. I want to make sure you're doing good. When we're engaged, it's almost like we really almost there. So another level of expectation.
Yes.
But then being married, how has those levels of expectations changed, and how have you adjusted and adapted to them?
I think it's a forever changing thing because we grow as people.
Hmm.
Um, Saying yes to the engagement, I'm like, okay, now is in real time. After the engagement photos and stuff like that. Okay, what we really
Which
doing?
were
What?
beautiful. Which were beautiful.
Yes, thank you. What are we really doing? What are we really getting into? And are you sure this is what you want? Um, so we did do premarital counseling, just to see if that's what the same expectation, because we're coming from two different backgrounds, two
Hmm.
different households. He come from two parents that were married until he got older and then got divorced. I'm coming from a mom just doing it all on her own, and family members stepping in and stuff like that. So um even now, almost 3 years later, the expectations, may change slightly, but
Hmm.
that communication is what helps us to meet that common ground. Hey, um, yeah, I was expecting you to do this, or but you didn't do that. So words really do help.
Hmm. Hmm.
um, which has been like one of my personal struggles, because I don't know if I thought people were mind readers, but I just thought you should know how I feel already about it if you know me. But um, learning the importance of words and stating what you want and what you need,
Hmm. Hmm.
at the time, but by doing it, be respectful. Um, but our expectations in the marriage is always to fight fairly. We may not agree with everything, but we can agree to disagree, or we could agree to not go below the belts. What are the things that what are the words and stuff that hits below the belts, and
Hmm.
and if we ever did go there, why? The reason why, and how do we move forward from that? And total forgiveness. I think his trick is funny, because there are times I'm just like attitude, like it's just not my day. Maybe I need to go back to sleep and try it again. Um, in our morning prayer, he when I have those days, he tells God on me, real.
I
So
love it.
it's, yeah, so it's not the arguing back and forth. And don't get me wrong, we have disagreements. We do come to a common ground where we don't raise our tone or whatever, but we agree to
Mhm.
disagree, or just leave it alone, come back to it. But for the most part, if I'm in one of those moods, he like, Lord, please help my wife, because and help me to help her, because I don't know.
I love it.
And then I'll find myself like, okay, I apologize for acting this way and the third, and it's vice versa. So
Mhm.
having God in the center of our marriage has been made life a little bit well, a lot easier. I wouldn't even say a little bit,
Mhm.
and a lot tolerable. Because sometimes you like you love each other, but you don't always
Mhm.
like each other. Like, you can take out the trash, or
Right.
you can cook me dinner. So
This
and
process.
just learning letting go of things, like, because a lot. But I did learn after losing my mom last year that life is too short.
Mhm.
If we didn't do the things that we did in that timeline, like even going back to the marriage and saying yes to the proposal and getting married when we did, which I'm glad we did, because she was a part of that.
Yeah.
And just to lose her, a couple years later, it was like, okay, dang, if I didn't say yes, or if I was still holding that wall up, I
Mhm.
wouldn't have had that opportunity or that moment with her. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of reflecting about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and that's how this podcast has come about, blended fab, right?
Hmm.
People say, I'm not a blended family, but I come from the mindset of how you were raised and how he was raised.
Hmm.
So him in a two parent household and you in a one parent household, it's some differences of how you viewed life, in a sense of
Hmm.
how the family dynamic should be in things.
Yes.
Your family's makeup, your attitudes about families and life, your beliefs and core values are sometimes similar, but sometimes also different. Like we
Hmm.
can believe that toilet paper should be in the bathroom, but should it be up or should it be under?
Right.
Things those small can cause like a concern for some people because they're like, no, it has to be this way. Um,
Hmm.
but being open to, long as the toilet paper is there,
Yes. That
but
common
we don't have toilet
ground.
paper. Okay.
You're right.
So finding, that. happy medium of agreeing to disagree. It could be up, down. I don't care. Just put it in there.
Yes.
If I need some, please bring me some, or find me a rag, TMI. I don't know how I went there, but you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah,
Um,
I got you.
picking the battles, and that's a big one too,
Mhm.
in relationships of knowing, do I want to win or do I want us to win?
Yes, and I
And
think it's really important to think of it as a we thing. It's a team thing. Because
yeah.
once you're divided, it's like anything can come between that,
Hmm.
But when you're together, it's kind of hard to wedge in between it if only
Yeah.
if you allow access to it. Because like the little simple things, like I'm like, I don't. I was raised. You don't open up every box of cereal just because you want that. You finish one box,
Dig into that.
and then you can open it up once that box is finished. So that was like a little shock to me. I'm like, I know you didn't open up all these boxes of cereal. So those things are comical, but it becomes real when you go
Mhm.
through it. It's like
Yes.
what, like,
Yes.
and if you're harboring other things that you didn't forgive them, like okay, you didn't do the
Yeah.
dishes, and then you open up all these boxes of cereal, then this is when you have the whole bomb and chaos. So we do believe in giving each other space and
Yeah.
grace, and
Yeah.
also coming together
Mhm.
and talking it out. So, and like I was saying with working in a nursing home during a pandemic, you're like, hey, listen, we give each other 10 minutes to talk about our workday, but we don't talk about it for the rest of the
Mhm.
day. So we get it
Mhm.
out.
Yeah.
And that was very helpful. That
Mhm.
built on the communications. I'm like, so this happened, and this person tried me. um, and we talk it out, but it's that time frame of 10 minutes. Okay, we don't bring it up to let it go. It happened.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's a new day. It's a new moment. Like you're home.
I love
So
that. You gotta have that balance, the
mm,
work and life balance. Because if we just talking about work at home, and then you get to work and it's work again, it's like, do I have a life?
yeah,
Yes. Well, 10 minutes to talk about it. Let it go now. Be present for me. What you want to do?
right.
Because I'm about to open up another box of cereal.
Yes, because that was like I'm like, well, okay, like I couldn't argue with it. I'm like, okay, that's different, but it was very helpful.
Hmm.
And it's helped us a long way, even with different as we moved on from those different jobs. Because there's
Yeah.
times where he had bad days, and I'm like, okay, what happened?
Yes.
He's like, all right, then that's that, and we move on. It becomes a home thing. So,
Yes.
um, learning what to allow in your home, what you bring in your home, and what to take out your home.
Hmm.
We're firm believers. If we, our disagreements stay our disagreements.
Yes.
We'll figure it out between you, me, and God.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yes.
If we need to seek, counseling and therapy, we'll do that. But as far as I do have friends we talk, but there's only certain limits.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, where it's the boundaries. Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. That's a big one. Um, knowing how much to share and who to share it with.
Yes.
Um, I have some friends that'll reach out and they're married, and he'll call or she'll call or they'll text or he'll text, um, and they be like, pick a side. I don't pick sides. I'm just helping you to get your feelings out, and then helping you to
Yes.
go back to your boo, because I mean, divorce is not an option, um, because that's the option that they have already taken off the table,
Yes.
but it's really important of who um you do talk to. Another big thing is, like, how much you're sharing too, because if you're sharing with one person that he ghosted you, he did this, he did that, in their mindset they could get like a bad perception of you.
Mm-hmm.
And then when things are happy go lucky again with you, they're like, no, because he did da, 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 or she did da, 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 da. And though we want to be open to share some things with some people,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's best to just go to God or that trusted person that is going to help you stay on the right
Yeah.
path. I know some other people, I'd be like, I pray that nobody comes around you unless they are speaking life into your situation, because you're not ready for it to die. You just at this place that you're stuck.
Yes.
So we have
And
to
that's
be
the
mindful.
other thing, not to cut you off, that was interesting because it changed my circle a little bit because
Mm,
as him being my other half and protector, he could see, look, this person isn't for you. We got to change, who's allowed to come around and who's
yes,
not, because some
yes.
people, they, come off like they're for you, but their intentions are bad. But
Mhm.
here I am, like, but I love them, I know, like, it's like, no, like, just let it go. Like, And that was a interesting. I think the wedding had really helped me, to see that that was a rough time because you had people that were happy, genuinely happy for you, and then you were like, you found out like people weren't so
Oh.
as you thought they were. So part of the growing pains, but
Ah,
it's been just having each other back to see that, and being intentional who's in your circle and who's in your
mhm,
village,
mhm.
and who can hold you accountable,
Yeah.
and who has, who you can hold accountable,
Yes.
like you said about picking sides. We're very close friends with another married couple, and we share things, we talk things, but there's no time where we picking a side like, hey, you can get my respective. I'll pray with you, we can take it to God, but um and I'll let you, I'll be a listening ear, the dialogue, but um, we don't believe in getting into other people's business as well as vice versa, allowing so many people to get in ours.
And that can mess you up because again,
Mhm.
we don't always know their motives, and it can mean well, um, and sometimes not mean well. And
Yes.
then we're on the other side of like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? The next thing you know, they live in life, and we're like, because misery likes
Mhm.
company, you know.
Yes.
Misery does like company because they like, if I don't have it, then I don't want you to have it either. So what can I do to mess you up? I mean, that
Mhm.
stinks because sometimes it's people that we hold dear to our heart. Um,
Yes.
but like you said, if I'm saying like, that's not a good person for you, and sometimes we need that person to be able to tell us that's not a good situation or let that ride. Now, there's some situations that come in my life and I let it ride. And then there's some situations that come in my life and I'll be talking to my brother, he'll be like, yeah, do it. I'm like, why are you encouraging me to be petty? Like, can't we just let it go?
Yes. Like
But I appreciate because like it brings the laughter and it brings a balance of
that
like
balance. Yep.
things. But that doesn't mean I gotta be petty though, we
Right.
let it ride. I mean, not that I don't be petty. I'm human too.
Hey, listen.
Like, I'm gonna get you back. Um, But then, you feel bad sometimes depending on the situation. Nevertheless.
Yes.
Being able to have somebody to be able to point that out is really helpful. And like you said, it does seem awkward at first because it's like, but I love them. There's this, there's that. Because we have this rose colored glass eye of them or view of them
Right.
because they've done just enough
Mhm.
to be good,
Yes.
but also enough to show that they got some rotten spoiled spots.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Mm. So, what words of wisdom would you give to others that are single, being
Mm.
that they're single and they're going to be single forever, to those that are single but ready to mingle,
Yes.
and to those that are on their way to engagement marriage? What are some words of wisdom you would give to them to help them in the process?
Mm. Single, let's start with that one. Don't take singleness as a punishment. That's is really a gift to know you without interruptions, a gift to learn what you'll tolerate and not tolerate, and a gift to just have that one-on-one with God. Not saying that you won't have that when you're in a relationship, but sometimes those things take away from it, and
Yeah.
you know um, we lose track of time and not be as close as we could be or should be,
Mhm.
um, and just be patient and live life with love and grace, and give yourself grace, because that, again, that singleness taught me a lot about myself, um, and it was really at a certain part of it was difficult to forgive myself. So in your singleness, forgive yourself. You may not always get it right, but also be willing to learn, whether it's good or bad, from uh you said dating and mingling.
Yeah, single, ready to now mingle. Getting to dating. So single, mingling, dating. That.
Hmm. Big one for me was setting boundaries. Number one, setting boundaries and being intentional, and being just being hot, honest, open, and transparent, um, and being realistic with your expectations. Like, don't I wouldn't recommend settling or just like, okay, I might, because what you accept now it maximize later. So be very, very intentional and prayerful.
Mhm.
um I don't know everyone's belief, but just having God in the center of things, he'll definitely confirm and listen, that ain't it. let it go. And when you say let it go, because it can save you a lot of time, heartache,
Yes.
and craziness. But um, just follow God's voice in that during that time, because that's a crucial time. And it could be a confusing time too.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that for that.
Very nice.
Um, that was another one, right?
Yep. Now those engaged, married, those in that family.
Mm. um, Gage married. Definitely God, keep God at the center. Um, he would definitely direct your path through that. Uh, you still be intentional, what you want in a marriage, what you really expect in a marriage. What you like or dislike, make it known. Don't wait years later. And this is how things get crazy and out of control. And you hear so much about separation and stuff like that. Um, think of yourself not as, two different people, but as one person. And, it's okay to correct each other, but do it in appropriate times. When you out together, you guys are a team. When you're at home, then we could, correct and, have that dialogue. But um, you work much better as a unit than apart. Um,
Yeah.
and just be mindful who's in your circle, who's in your village, who you allow in your village, or do they speak life into your village, or do they speak against it? You got to be mindful of that. Whether you love them, dearly, or you can care less, but no matter who it is, make sure there's people that's giving life to it and that you can give life back to.
Mm.
Uh,
Thank you. This was good.
Thank you. I enjoy. um,
Good.
brought back some memories though. Like I. So but yeah, I do enjoy it. And Lord willing, on the 10th of October, we'll be on our 3rd year of marriage. So
Yeah.
God's been really good in the mix of it all. Um,
Yes. Yes.
and I'm grateful. So
Grateful too. The dopeness of the memories. Facebook always gives us memory, and sometimes it's good memories, sometimes it's bad memories,
yes.
but it's memories nonetheless. And I read a quote the other day said, "Don't regret anything that made you smile." And
Mm,
even in the lessons, there were
yeah.
still moments that were great. And in those memories, you'd be like, but I learned from it and I'm growing from it. So it's great to be able to share, like, that process to get into where you are. It helps you also to appreciate. So when
Hmm.
this 3rd year comes, like, man, we done been through some stuff, but
Yes.
we have
And that's the common conversation though, because we're like, man, like I don't think if I didn't go during my singleness, didn't go through the things that I did go through,
mhm,
and he didn't go through the things that he did went through, we wouldn't appreciate each other as much as we do now. Like, okay, is it really that deep? Because I didn't deal with way worse. So I think that also our experience both help us to continue to appreciate each other and one another.
yeah,
Like it's
yeah,
really not that serious. Like, okay, I apologize. Next time, put this toilet seat down, please. Yeah.
but that's a big one because like when we did feel like he was like, oh, we got to cut it off, we got to break it off, and then
Mm,
we're just like a person that can't find a home. We can't get a boo because we keep cutting people off. But when
right.
it's a moment of, you know what? Again, that toilet paper. It wasn't up. It was in there. I'll take it. I take it. I take it because I needed it, and it was there. Cereal. I didn't want this kind either. I'm gonna get this other boxes open too. Um, but also, that comes from our upbringing too of
Mhm.
opening that one box. But it's like, but I don't want no cinnamon toast crunch. I want some
Yeah,
frosted flakes. Let's open up the frosted
absolutely.
flakes.
And also that we, even though we don't have children as of yet, that different parenting skills.
Mhm.
Um, we have the thing of gentle parenting, and you have, oh no, you're gonna get disciplined. But
Yeah,
what does that look like? So
right.
knowing these things, asking those tough questions in the
Mhm,
beginning
mhm,
will
mhm.
save you a lot of confusion and anger in the long run. Where you could agree or disagree, or like, hey, that's a no for me. Like
Yeah.
it. So those tough conversations that has to be had. Don't play around with it. Don't be cute with it. Like, hey, what is it? Like, what we do?
And where
um,
you have come from has helps you to be ready for when that time does come as well.
hmm
I like
Yes.
it. This is good. It's funny. I wore my '90s shirt today because you see the '90s, yeah, pretty bad.
Yes,
Because I
no,
feel like this oh, somebody just fell. Okay. um this gives me like '90s of nostalgia of, you give me hope, Jazz. You give me hope.
I pray,
Let me
but
be mindful that I'm putting the walls. We'll see what happens.
yes,
Let me go check my DMs. Oh, Jesus.
yes, you never know. So, but
Never know.
it's just you just know, allow God to work the way He works, and like, oh yeah, yeah, what you think that you want, because a lot what I thought I wanted
Mhm.
wasn't what I needed. So being open to what you asking God for and allow Him to give it to you. Because I almost blocked my blessing. I'm like, well, Lord, He ain't that taller than me, and this, that, and the third. But the guys that I dated, I'm like, okay, did that work for you? Like, no.
And that's a
So
big part. Oh.
So what do you have to lose? But just trusting God through the whole process, in your singleness, in your dating scene, in your marriage, engagement, letting Him be the center of it and leading the way, um, will truly bless your life.
Mm. Oh, that was good.
Thank you for listening to the Blending Fab podcast. This podcast has been brought to you by our sponsor, Chosen Counselors. Make sure you hit subscribe if you haven't already, and follow us on Instagram at blending_fab. Check out this snippet from our next episode.
Because he would say things like, well, if somebody we had a couple times where kids had put his hands on him, and he was just like, well, I'm not allowed to touch them because I'm going to get in trouble. And I'm just like, listen, I'm never going to be mad at you for defending yourself. Do I promote violence? No. But you just don't let people put their hands on you. And so last year he got into his first little fight, and he didn't really tell me when he came home. He kind of eased it in, and I was upset because the teacher didn't tell me, but she was a nice person, but she had no control over that class. And so I was a little bit upset because, like, as a teacher, why wouldn't you call me and tell me that my son had gotten to an altercation? And, she's like, Troy is quiet. He doesn't bother anybody. And Troy said he kind of put him in a headlock. You know what I mean?